Hello and welcome to Spotlight, and we are here with an amazing production executive, and in the form of Clare Sparks. Hello, Clare.
Hi.
How are you today?
Yeah, I'm really good, thanks. Nice to be here.
Ah, fantastic. So you are a production executive working at Boundless. Now, this is a relatively new title in television production, isn't it? So tell us a little bit about where it sits in the hierarchy and how it came about.
I'd say the production executive role has been around probably 5 or 6 years. It's sort of evolved from what used to be a unit manager. So I have production managers that work below me, that work to me, report to me, and I oversee them. And then I report myself to the head of production.
How many programs would a production executive like yourself, working at a very successful company as Boundless, be looking after?
Around 3 or 4 productions. But a large part of a production executive role is also overseeing all the developments. So the development of new productions, so the new ideas. So it involves lots of budgeting for those, and sometimes there'll be funded developments where the broadcaster will give you a small amount of money to put something together. It could be, a small amount to look into making a sizzle tape, right up to a larger amount to making a pilot.
What when you talk about a sizzle tape, what would that be? What would that look like?
Yeah, so usually a sizzle tape would, it's something that you would show to the broadcaster, to the commissioning editor, and it would be around, it could be anything between 2 to 5 minutes long, and it's a real flavour of what the idea of the show that you're pitching to them is.
We all know that in television, development can take years in some cases.
Yeah.
What would you be doing in the development process?
Yeah, so usually each company has their own development team, and that team will be working on coming up with new ideas of programs that they think would be suitable to be pitched to different broadcasters, depending on the sorts of things those commissioning editors are looking for. They would be coming up with the ideas, writing up what the ideas are, maybe putting together some sizzle tapes, and then my part of the that process would be to do a budget for that idea, because as well as good ideas, the broadcasters really want to know how much it would cost. And so that's quite an involved process when you're starting from scratch, and there are so many different elements that you have to look at, of how you cost up what a production is, the total cost that it's going to be. And it's lots of things that you look into, such as the staffing, how many people need to work on it, and how long do they need to work on it for? How long will it take to make this? Will you need a set? Will you need props? Will you need costumes? And there are lots of other considerations, such as health and safety, and insurance. And so it's about putting all of those together in one document and adding up all of the costs. If you were going to take a typical BBC One prime time factual series, so maybe a documentary type series that has a presenter, and they're going to go filming, maybe not even abroad, maybe just in the UK, but they're gonna travel all over the UK. And so when you're looking at the cost of that, the considerations that you've got are, how many staff do you need, how many crew do you need, so how many camera operators, how many sound recorders, how long will the filming period be, how much will the presenter get paid, And then how long will you need to be in the edit for? Is it very complicated? Is it a very complicated way of telling the story, or is it very simple? Are you going to need archive footage, because that can be quite expensive? You know, you're looking at probably between £5,000 and £6,000 a day for something, you know, for something relatively simple. And you know, presenters obviously get paid various different amounts depending on how famous. Presenters usually get paid per episode rather than per filming day. And so a newish presenter would maybe get something like £1,000 an episode, and then, you know, going up to your top presenters, very experienced and often that can bring, you know, another skill or specific knowledge, they would maybe get £40,000 to £50,000 an episode. And you know, on average, and all shows are different, but I would just say on average you would probably need presenters for between 5 and 7 days filming per episode. That's what we usually, for a factual series, that's what we would usually base a schedule on. And so for, you know, for a BBC primetime series, if there was, you know, at least 4 to 6 episodes, you'd probably be looking about £250,000 to £280,000 an episode to make those programs. And that involves everything that's needed, including a production fee, which is the fee that the company gets. As part of the budgeting process, you know, you would have a weekly schedule to work out your costs. But once a production starts, that's usually when I would hand over to the production manager to work on the daily schedule, and that's when they're working out who needs to be where, how they're going to film things, when they're going to travel. Obviously, that's particularly important if you're filming abroad, because you really need to plan your route and make sure that you're in the right place. That you need to be, and that you're allowing enough time in each place. And you know, that's quite collaborative. The production manager will work quite closely with the series producer and the executive producer, and to an extent the producer directors, to make sure that what they want to achieve is achievable in the time frame. You know, when I look back, I started, I had my first job in television 18 years ago, and I started as a logger, watching rushes and you know, logging what was going on, and obviously that's useful for people in the edit. And so I think I gradually worked my way up. After that, I met someone at that job who had a friend who was looking for a receptionist at a small production company. So then I went and did that. And then at that job, I worked there as a receptionist for about 9 months. And then they made me a production secretary. And from there, I moved up to a production coordinator, then production manager, then line producer, and then production exec. So it's I think what's been really important for me is working on lots of different programs, but also not trying to do something different every time, because you need to gain that experience so you start to feel confident with what you're doing. And every time there was a new role, and you know, every time you get a promotion, there's always that little part of you that feels like, oh, I hope I can do this, because you're taking on more and more responsibility. And it's about being comfortable with taking on that responsibility and knowing that you have the knowledge, and so to back it up. It's a very, very busy job. You're juggling lots of different things at once. You know, you're not only concentrating on one production. So it's about being able to manage your time, being able to prioritize, you know, have a look at a list of tasks and realize which ones are the most urgent, and which ones can wait until later. It's about being able to delegate where you need to, and trusting, employing the right people that you're going to line manage, and then trusting them to get on with it and not micromanaging them. And it's also being able to support whoever you're working to, so support your head of production, and in every role in television, enthusiasm, being conscientious, being self-motivated. Those are really, really important things. Most of the time, you're just expected to get on with your work. There's no one telling you what to do. You just have to do it. There's no one that's, they're not spoon feeding you. You've got to be able to realise that a task needs to be done and then do it. The thing about television is it's all about teamwork, and you know, when you see it come to fruition, and you watch the show, and it's good, and if it's successful, if it does well in the ratings, everyone's just so happy, you know, that you've worked really hard, but you've made something good.
Claire, that is absolutely amazing. Thank you so from the bottom of our heart. Thank you so much for doing that. That's absolutely incredible and very valuable. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, it's lovely to meet you, and it's exciting to think of all the new people that are going to come and work in TV, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do remember what it was like. It was, you know, it was quite intimidating to wonder how it was going to go and how you were going to do it. Yeah. And you know, it's it's good. So I hope it's useful.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you for being a part of Spotlight. Amazing. In the next episode of Spotlight, we're going to interview Mr. Young himself. Yes, Brendan Mayer will be joining us on the show, talking about his life and his career. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, please subscribe to the channel. And we're on TikTok and Twitter, at Spotlight 1701. See you next time.